Ladies and gentlemen, this is George Beal with VIP Property Group, wanting to take a few moments of your time today to talk to you about what a bird dog is to VIP Property Group, the type of properties, both residential and commercial, that you'll be looking out for, the telltale signs of these types of properties, and what information we need from you regarding each property so we can contact the owners, make an offer, and take them to closing. First one we're going to talk about today is residential wholesaling. Residential wholesaling includes any and all properties such as single-family homes, townhomes, duplexes, triplexes, apartment buildings, condominiums, lofts, just to give you an idea of what kind of properties are out there that would involve residential wholesaling. Now what we'll do is we'll look at some of these examples. I'll let you know what to look out for when you come across these properties on a daily basis, what information we'll need so we can contact the owner, and then as long as everything goes as planned, we take the deal from A to Z, we close it out, and you get paid for simply referring a deal to us. Okay, so let's get started. First type of property we're going to talk to you today about is considered duplexes. Duplexes are largely owned nationwide by landlords who have the properties for the residual income that it produces them every single month. You can generally tell duplexes by the two different individual numbers on the building, which represents two separate mailing addresses for the families that live there. Now, in this particular example, if you notice the wood paneling on the windows, this would be a property that would basically be vacant or abandoned by the tenants, as well as obviously the landlord, who has simply decided to let the property go. Lots of times landlords who can't get the property sold for one reason or the other and do not want to pay the costly expenses of the upkeep of the property either by themselves or by hiring a third party company to handle it for them, like a property company, would just simply let the property go altogether. Now with these, basically all we would need is both sets of addresses, just in case one set of address does not include the owner's information, we would have the second one to fall back onto. Now let's go on and move on to the next example. Here's another duplex example real quick. As you can tell by looking at the picture, this property would appear to be needing moderate to high rehab. Now keep in mind that just because property look like they would need a lot of rehab on the outside, they could be total gems on the inside. A lot of times people just simply let the outside of the property go for one reason or the other, but will do an outstanding job on keeping the inside up to par, everything up to date, 100% ready to move in. So just never judge a book by its cover when it comes to real estate, because again, what might look like this on the outside could very well be a hidden gem on the inside. Now, if you happen to look at the window and the door, this particular property in question looks to have some kind of notices on the window and the door. These could be anything from tenant evictions to foreclosure proceedings, etc. If you can, take a look at them for us. Let us know what kind of notices they are, whether it's tenant, foreclosure, or anything else, and that'll help us when we try to locate the property owners to go ahead and make our evaluations and make our offer to them. Now here's another example of a wholesale property. This property, unlike others that I've already showed you and will show you here in another few minutes, doesn't look like a typical wholesale property. What I mean by that is if you look at it, there's no visible signs of wear and tear on the outside of the property to where it might get you the impression that it would need any kind of rehab. The grass is not unkept. It's not growing like 3 feet up in the air. It does look dead, however. But now here is how you could tell that this would be a wholesale potential property is by looking at the red stickers on the window and the garage door. I enhanced this photo earlier and those stickers say danger, do not enter. Now this could be for a number of reasons. It could be from asbestos, a gas leak, a fire that happened on the inside of the property somewhere. Again, a number of different reasons. That's why we always ask you, anytime you see notices or letters on the doors or windows, take pictures of them or write down what exactly they are. And then that way, when we go after the property owners, it'll help us to approach them the best way possible so we don't scare them and they understand fully of why we're contacting them. And that way we can go ahead and get the deal under contract. Now here's another classic example of a wholesale residential property. As you can clearly see, one of the small windows on the front to the side of the house is boarded up, and if you go down a little further, one of the bigger windows is completely missing. And if you look a little closer, it looks like there was actually fire damage to the property. A lot of times when a fire damage happens, whether or not the insurance company will cover the full cost, the owners just simply, just don't want the headache of having to hire contractors to come in, redo the property, and so it just sits vacant. It sits unused for years and years at a time, or maybe even months before people like us come by, find out who the owner is, call them up, or email them, or send them a letter in the mail and make them a good offer. Another way you can tell that this is a good wholesale property is by all the tall grass growing on the side. All these are just classic signs of what to look for when you're out there every day looking for residential wholesale properties. There's just so many signs, and a lot of times nothing even looks to be wrong with the properties. I mean, any residential property, whether it needs work done to it or not, can be wholesale. That's the thing to remember. Any of them can be wholesaled as long as the owners have a willingness and a desire to want to sell it. Any property can be wholesaled. Here's another great example of a wholesale property. These types of properties are known as FSBO properties, or for sale by owner properties. A lot of times the properties will have very little to moderate rehab, or if any rehab at all. The only reason why a lot of individuals sell their home for sale by owner or on their own behalf instead of hiring a realtor is because their homes might not be worth as much as other homes in the area, and they don't want all the profit that they'll get out of the deal to be eaten up by realtor commissions. These homes are great. Anytime you see one of these signs, feel free to just jot down the address. If you happen to know the owner, that's even better. We just need their name and telephone number, or if they prefer us to contact them by email, we can do that as well. Um, and basically, we'll give them a call or send them an email, send them a letter, get in touch with them one way or the other, let them know what kind of options we can give them on helping them to sell their property. Um, Regardless if the properties are in bad condition or if they're like this case, really good condition, there is no cost to these sellers for us to help them sell the property. Our money and your money as a bird dog comes from our cash buyers. They pay all the closing costs 9 times out of 10. Every now and then the buyer might want the seller to help them split the cost, and in our experience, sellers are generally always willing to do that, but we do what we can to work out the deal to where the seller is out of no pocket expense whatsoever in order to sell their house through us to one of our cash buyers. So again, anytime you see one of these properties, by all means, I wouldn't really suggest knocking on the door unless you really know the people, but just simply, write down the address. If you happen to know the owners, that's even better. And like I said, that's the kind of information we'll need is their name and phone number if you happen to know it. Otherwise, we can just do a simple reverse property search, find out their name and number, and give them a call, send them an email, get in touch with them one way or the other. Real quick, we'll show you some more classic examples of FSBO, or for sale by owner type properties. These properties, like I mentioned before, are pretty much ready to move in, ready to go 100%. If they do need any kind of rehab work done to them, it'll be very little, which would mainly be cosmetic like paint or something else similar to that. Again, with these type of properties, all we need is the property addresses. We can do a reverse property search to get the names of the owners, possibly their phone numbers, or at least the mailing address, so we can mail them a letter in the mail, letting them know who we are, what we're doing, and that we basically can offer some options to get the property sold with no out-of-pocket expense. So they're getting our resources, but they're not having to pay a dime to us to help them out. And that way, whether we sell their home for a couple tens of thousands of dollars, or we sell it, for over $100,000 or whatever, they're going to get the profit that they're looking for because our buyers pay us and not the sellers. Really quick before we move on to commercial wholesaling, I just want to show you a quick example of an unfinished construction project for a residential or even possibly a commercial property. As you can clearly tell by looking at the property on the side, it looks like they were in the process of maybe painting the home and quit. in the process of putting in all the windows. And if you look even closer on the inside, they were even, in the process of building in the inside walls and other things. A lot of times, whoever had owned the property and was getting the work done to it, they might have lost the financing they had, or they might have ran out of money to begin with, and therefore they don't have the money to pay the contractors and the crew, and therefore they back out altogether, and the property is just left undone. With these type of properties, if we can find the owners, we can generally work a good deal with them to where they can get some money to help recuperate the cost of the property that they lost out on, and then that way our rehab cash investors can get a great deal. They can go and finish out the project that the current owner wasn't able to do, and therefore, some lucky family or a lucky business owner will have a great property to move in, live in, or run a business out of, things like that. Again, if possible, we need an address. With properties like this, though, there may not be an address, but any way possible for us to find the owner, that's what we need. Okay, now we'll get into commercial wholesaling. I'm going to take a few moments to explain to you a little bit about commercial wholesaling and then show you some examples. Commercial wholesaling can include any kind of commercial property, whether it's gas stations, grocery stores, restaurants, daycares, preferably not the ones inside of residential homes, auto body shops, dealerships, um, fast food joints, anything and everything, that's a commercial business. The commercial wholesaling actually involves the building itself, not the actual business. The business itself, if it's ever sold, would fall under something totally different. What we go after is the actual hard asset, which is the business, and any and all assets that come with the business. Like for instance, if we go after a gas station, it would include all the gas pumps on the property. If we go after commercial buildings like warehouses or other things of that nature, it would include any kind of machinery or anything that would be on the property that would go with the property. Let's go ahead and show you some quick examples of commercial wholesaling, and while you're looking at the photos, I'll point out some things to look out for. Okay, the first example of commercial wholesale property we're going to show you today is an old rundown, boarded up auto body repair shop. It looks like it would be a small mom and pop shop. Now this might also look like a gas station. However, as you can see in the picture, there's no gas pumps outside in the front. So, we'll just go ahead and assume that it would be a little mom and pop auto body repair shop. A lot of times, individuals who go into business for themselves, fall back on their payments because they have to compete with the bigger nationalized franchise names, and a lot of times they just can't do that depending on the kind of area that they had the business in. Um, Now, sometimes the business owners might actually own the properties. Other times they might have been renting them out, and when they go out of business, the owner can't find anyone else to move into it, and so they just gets boarded up and sits there. Basically, just like with residential properties, all we need with any commercial business is the address. With that, we can either do a reverse property search or even look up in the tax records for that county to find out who owns the property. Um, the unfortunate part about commercial wholesaling is, and even with residential wholesaling for that matter, is we might not always be able to do reverse property searching, get the name and number for the individual. However, as I mentioned, we can look in the tax records. The tax records will at least give us the name and address of the property owner that we can send a letter to explaining our services and see if we can be worked out. The process does take a little bit longer, but in the end, it's all the same result. Now, this example is, of course, going to be a gas station. Um, just like any other commercial property, this can be wholesaled as long as we can find out who the owners are and be able to contact them, explain our services, and go from there. With this type of property, as you can see with the gas pump here, it looks like somebody was trying to either repair it or strip out the wiring out of it, vandalize the property and go from there. Um, Basically, with these type of properties, even when we do contact the owners, in order to try to get a better deal on it, we have to explain to them that since the property had looked like been vandalized or even repaired, since the everything to run that business that commercial property wouldn't be available to the newer buyers. We really can't offer them as much as we could if everything was there ready to go, and we went to the closing table, and the very next day, the new owners could move in and go from there. Since they would have to do repair work like they would on a residential property, then obviously, our offer would be lower because, it's not like we're going to be able to resell it to a cash buyer for a lot of money, since they're going to actually have to come in and fix a lot of it, themselves. Here's another quick example of a commercial wholesale property. With this type of property, it'd be pretty much a standalone storefront. It could be a clothing store, it could be a restaurant, it could be a barber shop, just any number of things. Basically, just like with residential properties, what you look out for with commercial properties is if they're vacant, or do they have a for sale sign in the window or on the door, or for lease sign. Now, even if a property is only for lease, just like in residential properties, we can still wholesale that. The deal would get worked a little bit differently, but regardless, we can still wholesale the type of property. Again, we just need the address for these kind of properties. If we can't do a simple property reverse search, we can always look in the tax records. Most counties nationwide have them. If they don't have them online, what we would need you to do is go to your local tax county assessor's office and be able to pull up the address of the property. And generally, as far as I know, they're all always normally in there. At least with residential properties, the owners are always listed. With commercial properties, these should also be listed. If it's not an individual who owns the property, then it would be another company. And even with that, we just contact the company, let them know that we're interested in making an offer on such and such property in such and such city and state, and just take it from there like any other negotiation. Now here's a very great example of a classic commercial wholesale opportunity. However, unfortunately, the only time we would ever try to go after a property like this is if we have a corporation that is looking to buy a piece of industrial property such as this, and then they're just looking maybe to do a big rehab job on it. Then we would take the time and effort to go out to the property owner for this kind of big property, and try to negotiate a fair deal on both sides of the line, and see what can be done. But as you can tell, since this kind of property would need a very major rehab upgrade job, we definitely wouldn't go after this unless we had a buyer that was looking for something along these lines, because otherwise most likely it would just be a waste of time, and no one would be able to get paid for the job, and it'd be like a commercial real estate broker. It'd sit on our books for probably months or even years on end. So again, unless we have a buyer, something like this we really wouldn't go after, unless maybe the owner and maybe they're looking to sell it really dirt cheap. Then we might take a shot at it. Other than that, unless we have a buyer and we send you an email letting you know, or on our Facebook page letting you know we have a buyer looking for something like this, then we just wouldn't really be interested, unfortunately. Here's another last minute quick example of another commercial property. This would be basically a commercial office building with a warehouse attached to it for loading and unloading like trucks. And with this kind of property, there would be considerable rehab done to it, possibly a whole upgrade to the inside with the plumbing and electrical. The windows would need to be replaced, things of that nature. As I was mentioning earlier, we may or may not go after these type of properties unless we already had a buyer. But the more I was thinking about it, there's actually commercial brokers nationwide. Whether or not they live in your own city or even your own state, there's still plenty of them nationwide that would have buyers, possibly in your backyard, or even ones that are looking to expand into your neighborhood. So therefore, it's up to you whether you want to go after these properties or not. But just know that these may take longer to complete than it would ones that are in good condition, ready to move in and start the business back up again, or even residential properties. So just keep that in mind when you go after them, and good luck to you. Thanks. Okay, guys, ladies and gentlemen, to conclude this YouTube presentation of what it's like to be a Bird Dog VIP property group, I just want to say thank you for your interest in being a Bird Dog with us. Without you guys, it would be pretty much impossible for us to do things nationwide. Hiring bird dogs and paying them a commission for every property, both residential, commercial, that you bring to us that we can successfully close is a lot less costly than what it would be to set up offices, satellite offices, or even any kind of office for that matter, nationwide. So, we thank you for your interest in being a bird dog, and just know that we are here for you. If you ever have any questions, no matter how silly or stupid they may appear to you, please, by all means, ask them. Feel free to email us. The email is info@vippropertygroupllc.com, or feel free to give us a call. You can go to our website and get our telephone number. Feel free to give us a call if you need to. We'll be happy to answer any kind of questions that you have about being a bird dog. What kind of information you'll need. If you happen to see a property and you're not really sure if that's something that we would be interested, feel free to give us a call. Feel free to take a picture and email or text it to us, and we'll let you know if that's something that we can pursue or not. For anyone who wants to know a little bit more about me, as I mentioned in the beginning of the presentation, my name is George Beal. I'm the chairman and CEO, as well as the founder of VIP Property Group. And again, if you have any questions, just let us know. Thank you guys once again, and I would look forward to working with you soon.